5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, Five fans? Welcome to another edition of Web Boxing 101 podcast number 26 on this special night, Wednesday, August the 14th. It's a special night because we're coming to you on Wednesday instead of Thursday. And like always, we are coming to you by way of the installations of Warriors Edge Boxing Promotions and Gym here in El Paso, Texas. And I've always said it's a podcast first of its kind. While the kids are training, we are talking boxing. It's as raw as it gets. Today it's a little bit different, folks, because of the tragedy that just has plagued the city, or the tragedies that has plagued our country. So I find it fitting for me to do a podcast to talk about a little bit about law enforcement. I got some good guests here, and to start with that, and also to talk about any active shooter threat training. So I found it fitting that instead of boxing tonight, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about how to stay safe and in respect to all the victims that died in the tragedy. Shocking here that this has happened in our city. We want to express our heartfelt sympathy to the families of all victims and to all the community for this senseless tragedy. Please say prayers for everyone touched in this terrible event. And ladies and gentlemen, we will forever be touched. And also we want to thank all of our first responders. As you see on the screen, thank you all for responding, and thank you for what you do day in and day out. And, you know, as we're speaking right now, we have another shooting in Philadelphia, and that's still going on, and it hasn't been resolved from what I've known. So, you know, my prayers go out to all them over there, and good luck for everybody over there. So, God bless. So that's what we're going to do today on the show, folks. Also tonight, we're going to have today on the show is former law enforcement officer, instructor, and security consultant, Mr. Sidney Lopez, all the way from Florida.
Yes, sir.
And also a good friend of mine from the department, Deputy Sergeant, SWAT operator, and alert instructor, Mr. Corey Harrison, to talk about how to stay safe in an active threat or shooter scenario. Great information to gather, right? I mean, it's just great. I mean, this is invaluable information that we need. And we have also on the live chat, folks, don't forget to please comment on our live chat. We can establish dialogue. Any question you might want to ask. And also, if you miss any of our past podcasts, you can still visit us on our website, www.warriorsedgeboxing.com, and our YouTube, Web Boxing Podcast 101. And we're going to be live feed. A live feed is also on our Facebook page as well. So we're going to get started. And you know what, folks? No boxing news. The only news I'm going to have for boxing today will be the upcoming shows and I will discuss that a little bit later on any we have a lot of boxing shows coming up. So, well, we want to welcome our first guest. Is Sidney Lopez. Sidney, good evening. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for being here with us at the Warrior's Edge. You know what? It's also important to recognize all the corrections officers that do the work day in and day out in corrections, right?
Right.
And just recently we had a horrible an incident at the Southern New Mexico prison facility.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have too many details, that two officers got assaulted. And it was horrible, man. So, I mean, the threat is also inside of our facilities, right?
Oh, for sure.
Sidney, so with you here and you're a pro, you're an expert at this, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your family, and then we'll get into your company. So tell us who you are, man.
Thanks for having me again. And, my family, we were originally from Puerto Rico. We moved out here to the U.S. Right when I was probably around 12 or so. My dad and my mom went to work for the VA hospital. My dad was in the military also, so we moved around a lot. Eventually, made my way to Florida after being all over the U.S. And that's where my love for law enforcement started growing out there. I got to meet a lot of officers and a lot of other people that were involved in law enforcement, and that's how I got into working for the sheriff department out there.
So you worked for what sheriff's department?
I worked for Martin County Sheriff Office in Florida.
Okay.
That's where I started out my career. Then from there, moved to Arizona. And that's pretty much the big bulk of my career as far as law enforcement goes. Got to meet a lot of good people out there. Got to work for.
Was it Maricopa?
Maricopa County. Yeah, at the time, Sheriff Joe Arpaio was a sheriff, so I got to work under him. That was interesting.
Yeah, very interesting, man. We heard a lot of stuff from him.
I have three siblings. I'm the oldest of four. Mom and dad still there. They just retired, so they're in Florida doing the retiring thing.
Hello to mom and dad.
Yep.
You can say hello to them. They're probably watching you.
Probably. Hi, mom, my dad. And they are. Everybody's doing great. Other than that, everybody. That's it. As far as I go, I've been involved in a little bit of martial arts, a little bit of boxing here and there. So
you said that you've been involved in boxing and you have a Puerto Rico shirt. You know, we're big here in this gym. We're big Miguel Cotto fans. Are you a boxing fan?
I started out since I have my background in martial arts and MMA, but as I've been growing up, I've been actually getting a lot more fond of boxing.
So I know this is one of the questions I was going to ask you. So do you like boxing or MMA? What do you prefer?
I'm kind of half and half.
Yeah,
kind of half and half. I enjoy MMA because of my martial arts background. I've been in martial arts since I was 10 years old, and then of course as I've gotten older, I've been a lot of my friends are into boxing, so kind of like.
Yeah, you know, Puerto Rico has some very good fighters.
Yes.
You know, when we're talking Felix Trinidad, we're talking Miguel Cotto is one of my favorite, and they're warriors over there. It's ingrained in the culture over there. You know that? Very humble gyms.
That's one thing in Puerto Rico. You either do one or two things. You either play baseball, or you box.
Very very good baseball players come out of Puerto Rico. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you talk about being humble. Miguel Cotto is probably one of the most humble professional prize fighters that I've ever seen on TV. I've never met the guy, and that's something that I hope I do. But he was a very humble fighter, and I'm so happy from that, the way he made it, what he did, and what he's done in the sport. And as a matter of fact, I was just watching a fight from him when he fought Antonio Margarito in the first fight, when Antonio Margarito, which is a cheater, he loaded his hand wraps, and he almost killed Cotto. But how sweet revenge is. Second fight, Miguel Cotto destroyed him, and that's the fight I was seeing today. So we're big Cotto fans in Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is a beautiful state.
Another boxer that not too many people talk about him right now. Social Trinidad.
Yeah, Felix Trinidad.
He's done a lot for the
of course
for the island. Set up a couple gyms out there and give a lot to the community. So he's another one that's pretty active.
They give back to the communities. And Trinidad was a real active fighter, fighting the likes of Winky Wright. I really thought that he lost against Oscar De La Hoya. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to say it. I know this is going to be a boxing podcast, but man, it's Web Boxing 101. And if we want to don't get me started, man. I know people are going to start live chatting me. De La Hoya did beat him. Oh well.
It sure did.
Well, so tell us a little bit about. So you're retired. As far as a commissioned officer,
I'm still certified. I try to keep my certification active
with Florida.
Yes,
in Florida. So but then you're a private contractor, and tell us a little bit about your company and what's it called.
My company is called Tactics and Operations Group US, short TOG US. What we did was everybody that pretty much retired out of the military or even law enforcement, that has a SWAT background or any tactical background, when they retire or get out, they usually just go back and focus on giving back to the law enforcement guys. But nobody was really giving back to the corrections guys.
Yeah, corrections is an untapped market.
It is. So then, so myself and it's four of us. We sat down and we talked about it and analyzed it. We were like, you know what? Instead of going the route where the majority of the people go through, we're just going to go ahead and focus on the guys on the corrections because it's needed. And like you said, it's an untapped market. So that's what we've been focusing on. And one of the things that we noticed is that as we were planning and analyzing CEC, which route we were going to go to, is that a lot of corrections teams are still utilizing tactics from the 1960s and 1970s. They haven't upgraded. So that's where we come in.
So why does correction need a SWAT team?
Well, a lot of people don't realize it, but corrections is a city within a city. We have medical, which you could be saying it's a hospital. We have laundry services. We have huge, depending on the size of the facility. We have a kitchen in there, so you have AKA a restaurant. So you have all these things going on inside
huge
confine or jail or prison all the time, and. Let's face it. I mean, all the occupants in there are not there for being model citizens out there.
Of course not, right?
So,
and it's full of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. What is one of the most important aspects of your job when you meet with these law enforcement and corrections officers?
Well, one of the things is that it's as I travel throughout. I've been traveling throughout the U.S. One of the things that we've actually noticed, and we get asked a lot, is that we're grateful that you're doing this. We need it. We wish we could have more of it. So that's a motivator for us.
Good, man, and it's much needed, right?
Yes.
Sidney's all the way from Florida. He doesn't live in El Paso. What are you doing here? If you can say, what are you doing here in El Paso, Las Cruces?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, right now we're under contract with Doña Ana detention facility. We're doing a training for them. We've been out here since May, and we're looking to be here all the way to mid September. And we just it's a brand new team. So we're bringing them up all the way from the basic cell extractions and whatnot, all the way to high risk transport, active shooter in the correctional setting, and a lot of hostage rescue and so on. So
we're going to talk about active shooter. We have our second guest is going to talk about the active threat and shooter. There's also active shooter in the corrections, right?
Yes, actually, ironically, the last week, the week that we were trading, I had just finished doing active shooter when Saturday this tragedy happened in El Paso.
Why would a shooter want to come into a jail and shoot it?
Believe it or not, that's one of the questions that some of the guys asked me, and one of the things they told me was, how would that happen inside of a correction facility?
Why would it happen?
Here we go. Disgruntled employee We've had we've had documented cases of disgruntled employees going back into the facility. Lovers quarrels. Where they
you're right.
where they fight. We've also had inmates had issues inside the facility with one another, and working crews outside where you have lackadaisical officers don't pay attention. We've had a case that actually happened in Georgia where the inmate dropped I think it was a 22 in the work area where they knew they were going to be working at. Inmate picks it up, inserts it into himself, sneaks it into the facility, makes it all the way into his pod, goes into his room, takes it out, and
Wow.
and gets one shot off.
And you know what? Some people might not understand that. We got to house these active shooters, these criminals. We got to house them somewhere,
Yeah.
and they go into the jail.
Yeah.
Our facilities are full of this stuff, right?
Exactly.
Of these type of people. I mean, if you want to call them people, I don't know.
Going back to the to my last example in Georgia, they went and officers inside. The difference between obviously officers working inside the facility and the officers outside patrolling. The officers outside, they have weapons on them. They have a sidearm or whatnot. Inside the facility, we don't. So when something like that happens, that you bring a weapon inside the facility, what do you do? So that's
okay.
That's the answer. That's the void that we're trying to fill. Give the officers that are inside the facility an answer to that.
Wow, man. And folks, again, this is Sidney Lopez, all the way from Florida, talking about the Tactical Operations Group U.S. And they specialize in tactical teams inside a correctional setting, and not just inside a confined, but they do high-risk transports, the high-risk criminal element,
Correct.
Court detail, court security. That's pretty good, man. So everything that comes about. So it seems that Sidney, it seems that times are more violent than before.
Oh, very much so.
And it seems that way because of social media. We read and see about officers getting killed or injured in this field. Why do you think that's the case? And just in the recent case, we saw the one in southern New Mexico prison. It was horrendous, man. So why are the times are more violent? Is it because we have social media? We've always had it, or why is we having this trend now?
Well,
why are you in so much demand now?
Well, one of the things that's starting to happen is that, as you said, social media. They've made it so easy for criminals to be able to communicate with the elements outside. Like, for example, some facilities now give them iPods and tablets and whatnot, and they can send emails outside and that kind of deal. So the ability of them being able to communicate with the outside, it's a lot more. It's easier.
I saw a posting on saying that why should our kids pay for lunch at school and the inmates have it for free. But and now they're getting tablets.
Yes.
And the technology for them, is that because of conservative groups, or why do you think this is happening?
Well, I think it's the most common the most common answer to that I've heard from administrators who are using it is it's more of a control tool. It's just something else for them to be able to manage.
So they can, I guess, combat idleness.
Exactly.
And make it more easier on the corrections officer, right?
Supposedly.
And you know what? The stigma of being a jailer is not just a person that counts heads and babysits. It's, like you said, it's more than that. It's way more beyond. They're professionals. They're these men and women that we really don't talk about that much. Only when something goes wrong.
You have to be a counselor. You have to. You wear many hats as a corrections officer. You have to be a counselor in there. You have to be able. You have to be first and foremost uphold security and uphold the law of the facility, policies and procedures and whatnot. So you got to be able to uphold that. Then you also have your issues with people just coming in and out. inmates coming. It's a revolving door, so you get to see these people coming in and out, and then as time goes on, you get to hear the whole life story. Sometimes, I mean, I've dealt with sometimes generational, where I've dealt with the dad, the son, and at one point even the grandson.
Wow. And you know what? I mean, I've always been in specialized teams as well for a long time. We run we run the teams area at the sheriff's office, and you've been part of it as well. Training has evolved, and we've evolved as well. How do you compare training now to before? Because if the inmates are evolving, they're getting a little bit more abrasive, more violent, more technology is also enabling them to combat us. How do we compare police training now?
Well, training, tactical training within the correction atmosphere, it's slowly starting to evolve. I wish it would be a little bit faster, but at least it's starting to progress. Because just like you said, the inmates are evolving. All they do is they have 24 hours to just watch what we do, how we react, how we respond to critical situations, and they take notes. And the ones that are professionals. And when I say professionals, I'm talking about the guys who coming in and out, and they make this coming into a correctional institution their livelihood. They know our tactics. So we've dealt. When I say we, I mean corrections have been kind of like on a comfort zone. But now, as the inmates are getting a lot more brazen and a lot more violent, as you said, now we've actually have to. It seems like we've looked back and said, "Oh, wait a minute, we need to do something about this." So it's starting to slowly move up.
So how do we prevent the increase in assaults on corrections officers?
Ooh, that's if I had the answer to that, I'll probably be able to.
Let me tag along on that question. On lines of that question, the new officers that we get now, it's been a different trend too.
Oh yes,
right. It's not like before. I mean, do you think that's an issue too? I mean, that we don't have these officers the old school kind of officers.
Yes, we do. And that's something that I've been seeing, especially as I travel throughout the U.S. in all the different facilities that I've been fortunate to train in, and this younger generation now it's also like a revolving door. It's almost like they take it more personal a lot of times when the inmate starts talking back to them or anything like that. They're the old school, and I guess I'm counting myself in there. We had a little bit more, I guess, rougher shell.
And you know what, you're right. I mean, I've been in the training for a long time, and you know what, I think what we're missing now in corrections because you know what, nowadays, when I started, that was 22 years ago, everybody wanted to be on these specialized teams.
Right.
SRT, CERT, SWAT, and now there's not a lot of people want to do that no more.
No.
And I think, in my opinion, we're missing the people that score on these entrance exam 71s to 72s. I was the 72 and I was proud of it. But I was a 72 and I had street smarts. And
right.
I barely passed, but you know what? I had a degree in street smarts. I grew up in the barrio. I knew how to talk to people. I was a little bit more tough. It seems that now the kids, they want 80 and above.
Oh, yeah.
And, hey, if you scored an 89, we want you for these jobs. Well, we're not going to be rocket science-y. We're going to deal with the bad element. Mm-hmm. So you think that's a problem, maybe?
I think that's missing. That's an element that's missing.
Miss that element, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then when you actually, I guess, put the fire to them, a lot of times that's when you have guys who drop out when they're in the selection process for a new team or to come into any team, because sometimes they feel like. And this is just based upon my observation. Almost like it's they want to be given instead of being earned. And
okay, well, that's and that's, I think that's a problem that plagues a society that we've been talking about. A lot. It's been in the discussion. What can we do, man? I mean, how are these kids getting these guns? And everybody's trying to blame the political platform, but I think it's an upbringing.
Yes.
I think we should blame, if anybody, I guess, is an upbringing. the upbringing of the individual that did whatever or got incarcerated or did that shooting, the way they brought him up, the parents, us as parents.
Well, when we grew up, if we did something and that was out of line, your neighbor would come and spank you.
Your what?
Your neighbor will come and spank you, or
you can't touch nobody now.
or they'll pull your ear or something like that, or I'm gonna tell your mom and stuff like that. You do that now, you go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, so the kids are like more into these social media platforms,
Yes.
and but yeah, I think that's a big one. For me, it's an upbringing. I think it starts at home.
Yes.
and we're missing that. I know we want the best for our kids.
Both parents working.
The kids by himself. Both parents work now, and the kids by himself, and of course, and the only mentor is the phone. And Cindy, let me tell you why we even picked up boxing. Because boxing, I think, is a great discipline tool for a kid, for anybody. Because you know what, boxing teaches you discipline. It's not a team sport; it's an individual sport. And yeah, I have a lot of people come into these gyms, and they're trouble, man. They're at-risk youth, and boxing is a great avenue for them.
It's a great
avenue.
Yeah,
you know what? It's an upbringing, man. You're right. I mean, that's my opinion. It's nobody's fault but the parents of those people that commit these atrocities, man. Is horrible, man. What makes us an operator, man? What type of individual are you looking for these cert teams?
Pretty much, we kind of rounded it up here within this discussion. If you really listen to it, heart. Somebody who has the heart and the will.
Because I mentioned that a lot of people they don't do that.
Right, because this is a job that, first of all, corrections is a job that nobody really grows up and say, hey, I want to be a correction officer when I grow up. You kind of fall into it.
Yeah, you fall into it.
And then that being said, on the tactical team, that's another avenue that a lot of people once they make it into corrections. They usually want to use corrections as a stepping stone to get into the street. A lot of the younger guys, their dream is to make it into SWAT. Now, a lot of guys when they get into corrections and they decide to stay in corrections, then their other avenue is somewhat of the similarity to the SWAT team would be a CERT team or SWORD or whatever they use. Mm-hmm. They call themselves, or SRT. But that's when you start. You gotta have a good selective program, and it has to be somebody who has a heart, the will to be in it. Because the physical part, we can work on that. I mean,
it's just a heart, right?
With PT, physical training, and all that stuff. We can mold somebody. But like you said, street smart, you can't put that into someone.
You have it already,
right? Exactly. The heart to keep pushing forward past your comfort zone. If you don't have that.
And that's been one of the things as a training instructor, getting these new cadets. It's hard to instill pride.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's real hard. So, Cindy, tell us a little bit anything else on tactical operations group. What's the future of it? What tells it? I mean, if you want to add anything else. We're
actually working on a couple of projects right now. I can't really go into discussion, but on details on it because it's still they're still pending and ongoing. But it's real good for both the tactical operator, and it's also real good for the corrections field. We have some projects that we're working on that we're planning on bringing. I don't know if you've heard of the mock prison riots.
Yeah.
In West Virginia. We go to those now just to let us be a support and let everybody know that we're around. So we got some projects coming up with some folks that have the best interest for corrections, and that's something that we're very prideful in that. We associate ourselves with guys who are honest, really have good intentions for the corrections entity and have a passion for it. So we got a couple projects coming down. We're also working on new updating all of our curriculums and whatnot. We always try to make sure that we keep all of our training fresh and stay at the edge of both technology that maybe be useful for corrections in the tactical setting, and also making sure that our tactics stay sharp for the that way we're bringing the best for the guys.
Good, man. And Cindy, you know what? We're glad to have you, and I know we've worked together before already.
Yes, yep.
He's been out here at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, SRTs. You're always welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being on the show.
It's becoming our second home, just about.
Yeah, you've been here for so long. But thanks for being here, man, and stick around. We're going to have our panel discussion next. But thank you so much, Cindy, for being here and sharing light on what you do. And thank you for what you do, man. I mean, thanks for what you do also in the correctional setting. Thanks for everything that you do, man.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for corrections, man. And folks, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, we will talk about the active shooter. We'll talk about what can be done. And again, Cindy still will be here. And coming up next is Mr. Corey Harrison from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office SWAT team. So, folks, stick around. We'll be right back.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, folks, welcome back to the podcast. That was Sydney. What a great guy to have here, man, all the way from Florida, folks. Like I said, our podcast is going to get better, but I just found it fitting that we talk a little bit about law enforcement and share light on what these people do day in and day out. So, again, thank you for all you do, law enforcement and corrections. And Cindy's here with us. Before we even keep moving on, we're just going to get some announcements here. Don't forget that the Johnny Tapia presents the Southwest Explosion, and that's going to be in Barrio, New Mexico. It's the first annual Johnny Tapia Boxing Invitational. It's a 2-day including boxing, music, food, special celebrity guests, vendors, bike run, kid jumpers, mechanical bulls, fun for the entire family. Again, these are going to be both days. It's going to be a professional and amateur event. If you need the registration forms, go to VadoSpeedwayPark.com, download it there, or come to my gym. I got the forms here. The forms need to be turned in immediately. And then also, guys, the second annual Bullies Against Bullying is September 14 at the Roswell Convention Center. The first bell starts at 2 p.m. Contact Bullies Boxing on your social media, and that is coming up as well. So we got some big shows. And August 31st, we have the El Paso Strong. And that's something that's everywhere in El Paso now, but they're going to call it the El Paso Strong Boxing Show, August 34th, presented by Border Boxing Association at the Apollo Boxing Club, 2011 Myrtle Avenue. If you want more information on that, at the El Paso Strong Boxing Show, contact Jose Guerrero at 432-294-2645. That's the El Paso Strong Boxing Show at the Apollo Boxing Club. Or visit my website, www.warriorsedgeboxing.com, for more information on these upcoming boxing shows. All right, folks, now our second guest of honor is a good friend of mine as well, good partner. He's a veteran of law enforcement, and he works for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He's a good friend of mine. Let's please welcome Mr. Corey Harrison. Corey, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You got it, buddy. Hey, glad you're here at the gym. Glad you're here at the Warriors Boxing Facility. And Corey, I mean, we have you here because of what has happened, and it was pretty sad. What is your take on what just El Paso happened, man? What happened in El Paso?
You know, it's an unfortunate tragedy that's hit our city, but I know that El Paso is strong, so strong, right? We're gonna overcome this. And I think us moving forward is just going to be about the awareness out in the community. I know here locally within law enforcement, we've been doing our part to make the community more aware, provide more presentations within the schools, different businesses, and get more of our law enforcement partners trained on the response to these incidents. So it's very unfortunate and it's very sad, but I do send my prayers and condolences to the families that are affected from not only the tragedy here in El Paso, but the others that have occurred throughout the country.
Yeah, and it's pretty sad. So, and you know what, Corey, we're trainers, and we said, you know, it's bound to happen, but this is what we think. But the community never saw it. We never saw it coming. But it's, I mean, I'm still shocked, man. You know, it's still this has changed us all forever, man.
Yeah, and you know, within training, we always talk about it's not a matter of if it's going to happen; it's just a matter of when. Right, but from our perspective as instructors, you know, we in our hearts and in our minds, we hope that day never comes. But you know, that's why it's important for us to continue to train and share the information so that we are better prepared. You know,
and you know what I mean, like Cindy and you here, and me and myself, and all our brothers listening in. You know what, we do this not to get a thank you or a pat on the back. We do this because that's a passion. It's a calling for us, right?
Yes.
It's a calling for us, and but we're gonna keep thanking you, man, because I know you responded to
Yes.
that incident, and again, it was just shocking. And you know what? This has changed the way we do things in El Paso, man.
Yes, definitely.
And I hope it's opened some eyes, and we continue to train and strive to make El Paso the safest city, and it's gonna continue. And you know what I've seen, Corey? It's just how the people have came together, man.
Yes, definitely.
And as we speak right now at the Southwest University Park, they have a vigil.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be sold out. So that's great. El Paso is coming. I think it just boils down to be kind to each other, man.
Yes, that's it.
Poor families, man. The live chat continues here. Ricardo Kuch says, big brother. Richard Garcia has a big shout out to you, Corey and Tree. Blessings. And Volcano.
All the way from Brazil.
Yeah, all the way from Brazil. And then Volcano says, SME Tree. Volcano's another one of those, you know, I think he reached a milestone here 2 days ago.
26 years?
26 years in the force, El Paso PD. And I've always said the legend.
Yes.
And he says, I'm the legend. He goes, no, you know what, Volcano, there won't be guys like you no more. I mean, you're a dying breed.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, he was actually one of my academy instructors when I started my career, and took a lot of goods from him.
Right.
Goods from him.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm still honored because I teach with him. He's my partner, man, and he's a good guy, man. He's as tough as they come, and he gives it 110%. You see this guy, man, and I'm serious, man. Not because the day he retires, buddy, I think we're gonna need to call to see him for his retirement party.
Yes.
Because he's done a lot for this community, and he's one of those unsung heroes, man, that he comes out day in and day out and makes this community safer. And not only him, man, all his partners, man. I always say hello to all these people out there, these men and women that put their lives on the line every day. Yes. So, Corey, what are you here for today? What can you tell us, man, for the non-law enforcement personnel that if they encounter something in their work, school, homes, jails, whatever, what's going on, man? What can you tell us? What is it? What's the program? How can they get more training? Tell us about it.
Well, I've been an instructor under the ALERT umbrella, the Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training system. It's based out of Texas State University in San Marcos. Within ALERT, those trainings are offered for officers and also for civilians. And since 2016, I've been training other law enforcement professionals throughout the city, as well as civilians.
Okay, so let me stop you there. You say you train law enforcement. Okay, so let's go to law enforcement. What does what does the people need to know when law enforcement arrives at an active shooter?
And you know, one of the biggest things to understand is in an incident of an active attack, it's going to be complete chaos. There's going to be a lot going on.
No matter what, no matter how much you train,
right.
how much response, if the response time was immediate.
Yes.
There's chaos. Okay.
Yes. So for the law enforcement side, for our citizens, it's important for them to understand that our primary function when responding to these incidents is our job is to stop the threat. Our job is to stop the threat, and from there, we're moving on to helping the injured and getting them evacuated. But within that time, we're going to be giving some commands, simple commands, hands in the air, because at that point, we're still, possibly searching for that outstanding subject or subjects. So, it's just important within all the chaos for everyone to still be mindful of the commands that we're giving them and the direction that we're giving them. We keep it very simple because there's a lot going on,
Okay.
So those are some of our expectations of the citizens.
When SWAT arrives.
Yes, or any officer. All of our law enforcement professionals are trained. If they are the first one on scene, they're going in to stop that threat, whatever that threat may be. Yeah. So there's the times since Columbine have changed the way that we respond to these incidents and how they're handled. So,
do you think that SWAT could be more proactive than reactive, or it's impossible because we got to be reactive, right?
Yes. From our function, we're more reactive, right? Because we're getting information that's coming through dispatch. Time has elapsed, so our response time is fast, but it's more delayed than the patrol officer that's responding to those incidents, because you may have a patrol officer that's right around the corner from that incident versus a SWAT team member that's asleep or out with the family or at home. But within the training, two of the biggest things that I like to share is a mindset, right? Within law enforcement, we're trained and groomed to know that we are going home at the end of the day, and that's something that I share with the citizens that I have the pleasure of training, and understanding that they're not going to be a victim. I think mindset's everything. So if you already have that scripted in your mind that no matter what, I'm going home to my family because I have children, I have a wife, a brother, a cousin waiting for me, you're giving yourself that much more of a chance to survive an incident like this. And I know prior to the acronym Avoid, Deny, Defend, which is it's an awareness tool, right, that allows people to be empowered and instill confidence that they will survive an incident like this and be prepared to defend themselves if need be. I think that's very important.
So, and we're not going to get into the. I know you say you trained law enforcement civilian. We're not getting into the law enforcement because there's things that we don't want to discuss because everybody sees us. But okay, so the civilian, the teacher, the worker at the warehouse. Where do we start? What do we do?
First with mindset, like I mentioned, and then
what do they look for, Corey?
Just really being clear in their head, that this could happen anywhere. I mean, we've had incidents from UC Santa Barbara, that back in 2014, that incident involved stabbing, a vehicle, and a shooting, all from the same individual. Moving on to Las Vegas back in 2017, at a country concert, thousands of people there enjoying a concert, and unfortunately that incident happened as well. And you move on to the Sutherland Springs incident that occurred at the church. I mean, people are going to church. You would never think that going to church you would have to worry about something like that, but within that it could occur anywhere. So the situational awareness of where you are, who is around, is very important. You, for example, going into a Sam's Club, okay, do you just go in and pick up your items and put them in your cart and go to the checkout? Or when you walk in, you're slowing down a little bit and looking at the exits? Where is the nearest exit? Is there a storeroom? Is there an area that
5, 5, 4, 3,